In today's video, we'll talk about STARE versus ESSERE. STARE and ESSERE can be quite confusing, especially for native English speakers, since they both mean to be in English. But understanding the difference between STARE and ESSERE is crucial when you learn Italian to avoid the classical mistakes that students of all levels make when using STARE and ESSERE. So with today's Italian lesson, you will get an easy and comprehensible explanation of STARE versus ESSERE, and you will finally be able to pick the right one correctly and confidently. I'm Valentina Stella, native Italian tutor, top-rated tutor on the language learning platform italki, where I've taught more than 4,000 Italian classes so far. And if you want to learn how to use STARE versus ESSERE in Italian correctly, you will love this video. So keep watching and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and also make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now for more. Just click on the subscribe button below this video. Okay, so the first problem is that STARE and ESSERE both mean to be in English, and that can be pretty confusing. So how do we pick the right one? What I'm going to share with you today is the exact way I've been explaining this to my students for years now. And I know it works pretty well, as they don't feel overwhelmed with too many rules and too many cases to remember and memorize. So here it is. I want you to think of ESSERE as the general one that we use to translate to be in Italian. When I say the general one, I mean that, let's say, about 7 times out of 10, you will need to use ESSERE if you want to say to be in Italian. So remember, ESSERE is the general one for translating to be. Instead, STARE is the special one, is the one they use for some specific cases. Now, why is this important? This is important because this helps you focus. You will not need to remember tons of rules and cases and examples. Just remember to use ESSERE most of the times, and then memorize the 3 top cases where you must use STARE instead. So as you can see, this really helps because you will only need to focus on the 3 cases where you need to use STARE. So let's learn the top 3 cases that need STARE. Okay, the first case is when you talk about health in general. Remember 2 important things here: health and talking about it in a general way, not specific way. So how do you ask, how are you in Italian? Think about that. You probably know this already. This is one of the very first sentences that you learn when you learn Italian. Think about this and say it aloud. What did you just say? You probably said, come stai? Come stai? And that's correct. So how are you in Italian is come stai. It is not come sei. You didn't say come sei. But how are you uses are, we use the verb to be, so you could expect to use to be. Well, you don't, because this is one of the 3 cases where you need to use STARE. When you talk about health in general, when you ask, how are you doing, then you use STARE, not ESSERE. So this is the first most important case that you must remember when we need to use STARE. Also, notice that it is not only about your health or the other person's health, it's about anyone's health. So if you want to say, how are your parents? That's come stanno I tuoi genitori? Remember, you can always practice repeating aloud after me. This really helps in memorizing what we are learning today. So even if you ask, how are those people? Then you will use STARE. Come stanno I tuoi genitori? Molto bene. He's not feeling well. Non sta bene. We're pretty generic here. We're not specific. We're talking about his health in a very broad, generic way. He's not feeling well. Non sta bene. Perfetto. Okay, now before moving on, I want you to know that now you can download the flashcards of this lesson for free. And these flashcards will help you easily review and memorize everything you're learning today. You can find the flashcards on my Telegram channel, Valentina Stella Italian Tutor. Telegram is a free messaging app that is very popular here in Italy. Just install Telegram on your phone and then look for my Telegram channel, Valentina Stella Italian Tutor. And I'm also leaving the link in the description below so you can follow that. On my Telegram channel, you will find the flashcards from this lesson and all my other lessons, and you will be able to download them and review them whenever you will need to. Okay, so now back to STARE. We just said that we use STARE when talking about health in general. That's the first case where you must use STARE instead of ESSERE. Now, let's talk about the most important mistake to avoid, which is using ESSERE in this case. And I've seen many people, even more advanced students, making this mistake. But I want you to learn this correctly. I want you not to make this mistake. So, it is never sono bene. It's sto bene. Never ever say sono bene. That's wrong, because in this case we must use stare. It's always sto bene, stai bene, sta bene, or they are well, stanno bene is always stare. Never use essere in this instance. Okay, now that we have made clear what the first case is for when you must use stare instead of essere, let's talk about the second case, and that's when talking about staying in a place, as in remaining there for a while. So in this instance, to be means actually to stay or to remain. And when you're using to be with this meaning, as in to stay or to remain, you must use stare in Italian, not essere. So if you say I'm in Rome for 2 days, that, or as in I am staying in Rome for 2 days, that in Italian is sto a Roma per 2 giorni. We are staying in a hotel tonight. Stiamo in albergo stanotte. Perfetto. And now on to the third, final case where you need to use stare instead of essere, when talking about something that's happening right now or a work in progress. So when you're using the present progressive or the ing form in English. So the case in question is for sentences like I am reading a book. So you're doing that right now, or that's kind of one of your projects that it's in progress. You're doing it in this period. Now, in this case, we have the second most common mistake that I see students make. When they have I am reading a book, they want to use essere, but that never happens. So if you want to say I am reading a book in Italian, it is never ever sono leggendo un libro. That's wrong. Never ever say that. Never use essere for this sentence. The right way of saying this is sto leggendo un libro. Sto leggendo un libro. So remember, never ever use essere when making the present progressive, which is the ing form in Italian. So it's the ing form in English, and it's the equivalent. This is the equivalent in Italian. Never ever use essere, always use stare in this case. So let's see a few sentences together. If you want to say they are making dinner, then that's stanno preparando la cena. No, this is stanno, non sono. Stanno preparando la cena. We are studying Italian. Stiamo studiando italiano. Perfetto. And let me know if you want a specific video on how to form and how to use the present progressive correctly in Italian, because this definitely deserves a video on its own to learn and practice more. So let me know, leave me a comment below. Okay, now let's review the 3 cases where you must use stare that we have learned together. First, when talking about health in general. Second, when talking about being in a place, as in staying, remaining there for a while. And third, when talking about something that's happening right now or a work in progress. So anytime you want to use present progressive in Italian. Okay, now let's see some examples. If you want to say I am Italian, ask yourself, is this about my health, your health, or the health in general? No, it's not. Is this about being located in a place, as in staying in a place? No. Is this about talking about something that you're doing right now, a work in progress? No. So, in this case, we must use essere. I am Italian, sono italiano. Perfetto. She's a writer. Is this about health in general? No. Is this about she being in a place, like she's staying or remaining in a place? No. Is this about something that she's doing right now? Well, it could be that she's actually writing something right now. But in this sentence, what we're saying that she's a writer. She's a writer in general. That's her profession. We're not talking about she writing something right now. So in this case, again, it's not something she's doing right now. So we don't have any of the three possible cases where we must use stare. Therefore, we will use essere. È una scrittrice. È chiaro? Is it clear? Perfetto. So then let's see a few more examples with essere. He is happy. È felice. Now, you could say this is about health, like mental health. True, but this is very specific. So we're not just saying he's fine, we're talking about health in a very general, broad way. When you switch to specific, like saying he's happy or he's depressed, you're being very specific, therefore we need to use essere. È felice. Perfetto. The dinner is ready. La cena è pronta. Molto bene. So there you have it, the easiest guide to stare versus essere in Italian. And of course, we have more uses for stare specifically. This is the Italian language. We have a lot of cases and examples and exceptions. But these cases involve phrasal verbs and more complex constructions and idiomatic expressions that are more advanced, and you do not need to know them immediately. Instead, what you need to do is to focus on memorizing these top 3 cases when to use stare, and then use essere for the rest. And also avoid the mistakes that I told you that are very common, and you will notice a huge improvement in your accuracy when using your Italian and picking the right way to translate essere. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel right now for more. It really means a lot to me. Just click on the subscribe button below this video. And also let me know if you want to learn even more about stare with more advanced constructions. Just leave me a comment below and I will read that. Ciao da Valentina!